Hey everybody, this is Alan, and thank you for checking out our new podcast, Game Day Sports Talk, where we will be discussing all the major happenings in major American sports. That's the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, college football, college basketball. Hell, we'll even be hitting on boxing a little bit, as you'll see. We'll be talking about this every week, and since this is the first episode, I imagine most of you listeners have come because you heard about this on our website, GameDaySportsBlog.com, which is getting more and more hits every week, thousands of viewers every month to come in and check out the best sports articles on the web, period, hands down. I mean, we're discussing who should make the Hall of Fame. We're discussing the cases for each player. We're comparing players that have already retired to players nowadays. I'm talking Willie Mays to Mike Trout, Pedro Martinez to Bob Gibson. We're discussing it all. We're having solid opinions, all statistically backed up, all done with research. Imagine ESPN.com if ESPN.com didn't suck so much. And what we're shooting for on this podcast is something like ESPN Radio, except not sucking so much. That's kind of what we're going for here. So again, thank you for listening. In this first episode, we're going to be talking about a few things. First off, last weekend's draft in the NFL. What happened, who won, who lost the day. Obviously, the big trade that happened from number 3 to number 2 was Chicago. We're also going to be looking at the second round of the second round of the NBA playoffs, which is going on right now, and also the MLB season is about a month in, so we're going to check in on that. A lot of big surprises. Except not so much for me because I kind of called most of this stuff. And also we're going to be touching on boxing. In case you didn't hear, last week Anthony Joshua, Vladimir Klitschko met in England, had one of the best fights of the year so far. And then this upcoming week is Cinco de Mayo, which means Saturday night you have Canelo Alvarez versus Cesar Chavez Jr. in a big fight. So we're going to talk on all that. Hang in there and let's see how we do in this first podcast. Now let's start off by talking about last week's NFL draft. First off, was there any doubt at all that Myles Garrett was going number 1 overall to Cleveland? I know there were reports coming out that the Browns might take Mitch Trubisky, or were thinking about taking somebody other than Garrett at number 1 overall, but I don't see any reason why they would go any other direction than Myles Garrett. In my mind, there's not a quarterback good enough this year to have been taken number 1 overall. And as I said 3 years ago, remember I called this 3 years ago, Myles Garrett would go number 1 overall. He's just too physically dominant. He is just like Jadeveon Clowney. He is physically dominated the SEC, which is impressive. I mean, you have 32.5 sacks in 3 seasons. Yeah, he was the obvious choice at number 1 overall. Cleveland has so many holes on the roster that they would have to take him first pick. There's no doubt. He's going number 1. So all that Mitch Trubisky number 1 overall stuff, that was a little ridiculous. Anybody who believed that, you guys are gullible. With that being said, if somebody would have told me that Mitch Trubisky was going number 2 overall and that the Bears would give up the 3rd overall pick, a 3rd rounder, a 4th rounder, and a 3rd rounder next year to move up 1 spot to take Mitch Trubisky, I probably would have called you crazy there too. Now, obviously, everybody is going crazy over this trade. I mean, people are saying some bad stuff. If you've seen the reactions by Bears fans when they select Mitch Trubisky at number 2 overall, damn. I mean, people are not happy about this. And I wouldn't be if I was a Bears fan that you traded up to get him. But I will say this. I have no problem with Mitch Trubisky being drafted in the top 10. I think he's a good quarterback. Now, I wouldn't have given up a 3rd, a 4th, and a 3rd next year to move up 1 spot. I think that's a little ridiculous, considering there was no way San Francisco was drafting Trubisky at 2. But with that said, I like Mitch Trubisky. I think he's probably the best quarterback in the draft. He is the best quarterback in the draft. Now people hate, he only had 13 starts at North Carolina. Yeah, and he dominated. Threw for over 3,700 yards last season. 30 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. That's pretty damn good. And people say, oh, yeah, but he only started those 13 games. If he was really a top 10 caliber quarterback, he would have been playing the previous seasons. Maybe you guys are forgetting about somebody named Marquise Williams, the quarterback before Trubisky at North Carolina. Right? He threw for over 3,000 yards the year before. He was a Heisman dark horse. That's how good he was playing. That's the reason Trubisky was on the bench. Because Marquise Williams was a possible Heisman contender. And he almost led North Carolina to the college football playoff that year. So in 2015, had North Carolina just beaten Clemson, then we're talking about Marquise Williams being in New York for the Heisman ceremony. All right? Mitch Trubisky takes over for him a year later, throws for an extra 700 yards, an extra 6 touchdowns, throws less interceptions. But people are saying that he's not a good quarterback because he didn't start the years before. Marquise Williams was there. North Carolina was winning. Larry Fedora knows what he is doing. All right? He's got it down in Chapel Hill. All right? So stop doubting on Mitch Trubisky. Yeah, it was a dumb trade to move up. But Mitch Trubisky should be very loved in Chicago. All right? Because you're out of your mind if you think that Glennon is the answer for the Bears, okay? Just if you're buying Glennon but you're not buying Trubisky, you're out of your mind, okay? Now, I don't, like I said earlier, I do not like to trade up to get him. There's no excuse for that. They must have been bluffed. I mean, we knew San Francisco's not drafting a quarterback at number 2. I've been saying it for months. They're going to draft Solomon Thomas at 2. Instead, they drafted him at 3, so I guess I was off on that one. But Chicago must have been duped. They must have been bluffed into thinking that somebody else was going to trade up to number 2 to grab Mitch Trubisky. That's the only possible thought, is the Texans were going to trade up. I mean, I didn't think the Chiefs were going to trade up to get a quarterback, but they did that. They traded up to number 10. So that's the only possible explanation for it. And I'll say this about that draft, or about that trade. John Lynch, the new GM for the 49ers, he's the winner of the first day. He is the winner of the first day of the draft. First off, he got Solomon Thomas. He got the player that he wanted to get all along. Right? He got arguably the best interior D lineman or 5 technique defensive lineman in the draft. I mean, Solomon Thomas is going to be a stud for the 49ers, and Lynch got him at number 3. Also, he picked up a 3rd, a 4th, and next year's 3rd to get the same player that he wanted anyways. Not only that, but he moved back up in the first round, and he got Reuben Foster, the best linebacker in the draft, even though my boy, Jared Davis of the Florida Gators, went before him at 21 to the Lions. Still, John Lynch was the winner of the first day, not just the 49ers. And people are going to say, oh, no, the 49ers are the winners. No, John Lynch is, because a lot of people, when he was named GM, didn't believe in him. They were like, he doesn't have any front office experience. He's never been a coach. He has nothing to do with that side of the football operations. You know, why should he be the GM? Well, we just found out on Saturday. This past weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because he knows how to draft. He knows what he's doing. And John Lynch is the true winner of the first day of the draft. Now, of course, the Bears weren't the only team to come up and draft a quarterback in the first round. Other teams made the move up too, and I think did so incorrectly. It kind of reminds me of the 2011 draft. And I'm sure the Jaguar fans remember Blaine Gabbert, the Vikings fans remember Christian Ponder, and Tennessee Titan fans remember a guy named Jake Locker. Yeah, you all thought that you had the future of your organization right there in those first-round, top 15 pick quarterbacks. And you guys were wrong. I feel that that's kind of how this draft went. I mean, the Chiefs moved up and drafted Patrick Mahomes at 10th overall. You're telling me in 2017 you're going to move up, give up a lot, to go up to the number 10 spot and draft a quarterback who probably won't start for another 3 years? Because, I mean, you have Alex Smith. And you're telling me the Texans traded up to get Deshaun Watson, a quarterback who, I mean, I don't know Bill O'Brien personally, but I don't see him fully fitting in what that system is. That's kind of how this reminds me of the 2011 draft. Those quarterbacks that Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, Jake Locker, they were drafted way too early because of need. The Texans drafted Deshaun Watson too early because of need. Now, the Chiefs didn't need a quarterback. They traded up and got one. They must feel really good about Patrick Mahomes and not too good about the health or longevity of Alex Smith's career in Kansas City. It reminds me of the 2011 draft. I mean, it's dead on, except for the exception of in 2011, at least you had Cam Newton and Andy Dalton. This year, we don't know what we have. None of these quarterbacks, it's not that they won't be great. It's just that there will be no immediate success with any of them. Trubisky is going to sit behind Mike Glennon, who, granted, I am not sold on Mike Glennon at all, but Trubisky's a rookie quarterback from a non-pro style system, so he's sitting behind Glennon, who was a big-time free agent. Patrick Mahomes is going to sit behind Alex Smith, who is a Pro Bowl level quarterback, and Deshaun Watson will be asked to win a division crown as a rookie, despite coming from a no-huddle spread option offense and going into a division, where he has the best team, he has the best defense, but he's going to be asked to do too much in my mind. None of these quarterbacks are set up for success. I mean, after all, Deshaun Watson going to the Texans, a lot of people think, at least he'll be better than Brock Osweiler. Well, Osweiler won the AFC South. People don't give him credit for that because he didn't play extremely. He didn't play up to his contract numbers. He didn't play up to that. Was it $72 million or whatever it was? Yeah, he didn't perform at that level. But Deshaun Watson the Texans gave up a lot to trade up to get Deshaun Watson. Now they're going to expect him to win a division title as a rookie. Man, they're expecting J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney to basically run that division then, because I don't see Deshaun Watson dominating the way a rookie quarterback would. All right? And if Osweiler can win the AFC South, God forbid Deshaun Watson and the Texans don't, because Watson will get reamed. Watson will get reamed. All right? Because if Osweiler could do it, there's no reason that Deshaun Watson couldn't do it, right? Because Osweiler was terrible, right? So if Watson can't win the South, and he must be worse than Brock Osweiler. That's got to be the thinking here, all right? Because none of these quarterbacks are set up for immediate success. None of them. And now we're going to talk about the winners of the draft. I know we won't fully be able to judge this for about a decade or so, but there were teams that obviously worked on what they needed, found players that fit, and did a good job drafting. First off is the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they got two solid cornerbacks. First off, they spent their first-round pick on Taco Charlton, the defensive end from Michigan, who's talented. They need a pass rush because Randy Gregory can't keep his frickin' off the weed. Like, geez, dude, just pass one of your 7 drug tests you've failed so far, and you're a millionaire playing for the Dallas Cowboys. But anyways, they draft Taco Charlton. He's going to be great for them. He's going to rush the passer, which is what they need. They also got, the cornerback from Colorado. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, but he's a stud. Also, Jordan Lewis, they pick up in the 3rd round. He's one of the best corners in the game. That's a great, great pickup. All right, second winner, the Browns. I mean, you have 3 first-round draft picks. You think you're going to draft well, even though the Browns drafting has been absolutely garbage, before this. But like I said earlier, Myles Garrett at number 1, great pickup. Later in the round, Jabril Peppers, the safety out of Michigan. If they can find a way to use him correctly, because he plays so many different spots, and he did at Michigan, if they can find a way to use his playmaking skills in defense on the defensive side of the ball, then he's going to be a great pickup for them. David Njoku, the tight end from Miami, with pick number 29. That's great. Give whoever your starting quarterback next year is a weapon, and there's not a more athletic tight end. Maybe even O.J. Howard doesn't have the athleticism that Njoku does. And then there's the man who might possibly be throwing to him in a little bit, and maybe not this upcoming year because he still has some readiness to do. But DeShone Kizer with pick number 52 overall, the quarterback from Notre Dame. I said it earlier, I think he has the most upside of any quarterback in the draft. He's huge. He has a strong arm. He can move. He's going to play in the NFL. As is their 3rd round pick, number 65, the defensive tackle from North Carolina, Charlotte. I've seen some of his film. Ogunjobi, he's a stud. He is athletic. He is big. he's going to be a great player for them. So the Browns, believe it or not, the Browns are a big winner from this draft, as are the 49ers. I already mentioned John Lynch being a big winner. His team is going to win. You pick up two greats in the first round. Solomon Thomas, great defensive lineman. Reuben Foster, I said a few years ago, he's the best defensive player I've ever seen coming out of high school. I stick by that. He was the best linebacker I've seen play college football in quite some time. Yeah, they picked up two great players that are really going to help the organization. And then this one stings me to say, but the Chargers are a winner of the draft. A local San Diego boy. I didn't grow up a Charger fan, but I absolutely hate what Spanos did leaving like that. That hurt my soul. But I hate to even bring it up, but they drafted well. All right, Phillip Rivers is a future Hall of Famer. There's very little doubt about that. But a solid wide receiver in Mike Williams. Clemson's Mike Williams, a big wide receiver, which is, in my mind, that's the kind of receiver he likes, the big guys. So they got him a big-bodied wide receiver, which is a good target because we know in the passing game, down in the red zone, big targets are good. Antonio Gates is on his last legs. Mike Williams might step up and nab a few short yardage touchdowns for Phillip Rivers. Also, there hasn't been a worse offensive line in pro football than the Chargers over the past, I'd say, half decade. So for them to pick up Forrest Lamp, the best guard in football, and then the following round pick up another guard, the two best rated guards in the draft, that's impressive. So, you don't need a replacement for Phillip Rivers, even though he's getting old. You don't need a replacement for him if he can stay upright. He's got to stay healthy if you can protect him, and picking up those two guards is a great way to do it. And now we talk about the losers of the draft. First off, I talked about how much I like Mitch Trubisky and how I don't think that is necessarily a bad pickup, but the Bears are the losers. And it starts right, unless he starts right away, which isn't going to happen because they spent all that money on Mike Glennon, then the perception and the optics are bad. You moved up to get a quarterback number 2. He's not even starting, and the guy who's in front of him starting is a career backup. That doesn't look good. So the optics are one of the reasons the Bears are the losers of the draft. The other reason's kind of obvious. Like I said, they gave up a third, a fourth, and next year's third to move up one spot to draft a player that probably wasn't going to get drafted number 2 anyways. The Bears, regardless of what they did in the rest of the draft, which wasn't that bad, are the losers of the draft. Deshaun Kaiser is another one, and I talked about the Browns being the big winners of the draft, but it's not even that he went to the Browns where quarterbacks go to die. It's the situation that he's now in. He's behind a quarterback that the local and national fan base don't love. Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler's a Brown in case you missed that trade, right? And now Deshaun Kaiser's behind him, and he probably still won't beat him out. Remember, his coach in college, Brian Kelly, said Deshaun Kaiser's not ready for the NFL. And if a college coach is saying that, his college coach, there's a decent chance he's not ready for the NFL. All right? He's going to sit behind Brock Osweiler. All right? So it's not necessarily that he went to Cleveland and it sucks to be him because there's no good quarterbacks in Cleveland. It's because he will not start right away. All right? So it's just a bad situation for him to be in. And the third loser is a guy named Caleb Brantley, the defensive tackle coming out of Florida. Now, he's a talented player. A lot of people actually had him as a first-round player, or at least a first-round talent, maybe a second-round pick. He didn't get drafted until, I believe, the 6th round. Might have been the 7th. But the reason was because he was accused of domestic violence right before the draft. A woman at a bar claimed that she punched him, that he punched her, knocked her unconscious, and that she needed dental work on her face done because of it. Obviously, if that's true, he's not the loser of the draft, and he should be punished for what he did. But the fact of the matter is, and this happens way too often, is these people are losing millions of dollars in the draft, and they're innocent until proven guilty, but who knows? These teams have to prepare for the worst. They draft them so late because there's a chance that he'll be in prison, or that he will be serving some kind of punishment through the league for domestic violence, and there's a decent chance that he's innocent. As a matter of fact, the video already came out where the woman was shown walking away from him after there was no violence, and Caleb Brantley has denied any violence at all. He even had a chance to settle out of court, and he denied because he said it didn't go on. And here's the thing, if he didn't hit her, and that's the big if this domestic violence charge never happened, Caleb Brantley is making millions and millions and millions of dollars as either a first or second round pick. After this claim, and once again, big if he did not hit her, he just lost millions and millions of dollars, and she gets to walk away scotch-free. That is ridiculous. That's why once again, huge if he is innocent, then Caleb Brantley is one of the big losers of the NFL draft. Now that we've talked about the winners and the losers of the draft, we're going to talk about a weird pickup that I didn't fully understand. Now, the Saints drafted Alvin Kamara pretty early in the draft. He's a running back out of Tennessee. I've seen him play a lot because I'm a big SEC fan, so I've seen Tennessee play a lot. Alvin Kamara makes complete sense in the Saints offense. He's fast, he's elusive, and he's big for what people might consider a scat back. He's strong. He can run. He started off at Alabama. That's how good he is as a runner inside the tackles. He started off as Alabama. He transferred. He went to Tennessee and played in a shotgun spread there. So it makes sense that Sean Payton would see him as a running back fit for what the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees' offense, what they do. But what doesn't make sense is they already have Mark Ingram. They already have Adrian Peterson. What I don't get is how either one of those two fit in the system. Neither one of them are shotgun spread runners, which is what the Saints do. Both of them are downhill runners. I mean, we saw what Mark Ingram did at Alabama almost completely from 7 yards back of center. He was behind the quarterback almost the entire time, either in pistol or in the single back formation, what Nick Saban does. And he was a downhill runner at Alabama. He won the Heisman running downhill. And Adrian Peterson, we've seen what he does when he runs downhill. But he is not a shotgun runner. As a matter of fact, even in 2012, when he had far and away his best season, he averaged just 3.5 yards out of the shotgun compared to 8.3 in I formation. What does that tell you? He's a downhill runner. The Saints are not a downhill running team. Granted, if anybody can make it work, it's the combination of Drew Brees and Sean Payton. But I don't see either one of them fitting. Granted, maybe Sean Payton and Drew Brees understand that they have to run the ball downhill more. They have to keep the ball away from opposing offenses because the Saints' defense is so bad. Maybe they're going to play a little bit more ball control offense. But the pickup of Alvin Kamara in the draft makes complete sense for what the Saints do, and that's score fast, explosive plays, big things like that. The pickup of Adrian Peterson and holding on to Mark Ingram, neither one who have skill sets that exactly fit the Saints, even though they're both very good players in their own right, it just doesn't fully make sense to me. Maybe it's one of those things when you get a chance to sign Adrian Peterson and at $7 million for 2 years, you do it no matter what. But maybe we are seeing a shift in the way the Saints are going to play football. Maybe they're more, clock control, ball control, time management team, considering their defense couldn't stop anybody and probably won't this year either. Now, obviously, I want to get your guys' take on the draft, so hit us up on Facebook at GameDaySportsBlog or Twitter at GDSportsBlog. You can even hit us up on the website, GameDaySportsBlog.com. Make sure to check it out. Anyways, we will take your questions on our next show. You'll be on. We have a question coming up later in this show from a fan of the website. So hit us up on there. We'll address your question. We'll talk about your comment. We might even have you live on the show. Just hit us up on Twitter at GDSportsBlog or on Facebook at GameDaySportsBlog, and we'll get you in on our next show. Now we move on to our second topic, which is the MLB season so far. Now, it's been just over a month, right? Just over a month into the 2017 season, and the MLB standings are showing some oddities. I picked the Nationals to win not just the NL East, but the National League, And right now, they're the best team in baseball, really. So they're dominating. They're doing what they should be. The Mets are struggling mightily. And once again, I said if their pitching wouldn't stay healthy, which it hasn't, they were going to do really badly. In their last 10 games, they're 3-7 because they have injuries to their pitchers. The Cubs are winning the Central, but it's closer than it should be. In the NL West, the Rockies are the top team, surprisingly enough. Now, I saw them in spring training. I went to a couple of their games, and I said, hey, watch out for the Rockies. If they can get some pitching, they'll be stellar this year. They will compete for the NL West, which is usually one of the better divisions in baseball at the top. Now, the Giants are at the bottom of that division right now, which is great to see from a San Diegan's opinion. 10-18, they're struggling mightily, and that's what happens when you have a bad bullpen. But Bruce Bochy is a future Hall of Fame coach, and I'm sure he'll get that right. I picked the Dodgers to win that division, and right now they're 2 games over 500. And I don't doubt that they'll make a push later in the year. Like I said, it's only been a month, but we're just checking out what's going on right now. And the Padres right now, hey, they're not having as bad of a season as I thought they were. I'm seeing serious strides from their pitching staff, which is supposed to be the worst in baseball. But they're not looking too bad. My old buddy Trevor Cahill is actually pitching pretty well. He's had 2 solid outings at Petco Park. Pitched a couple nights ago, only gave up 1 unearned run and another Padres win. So look for them to play spoilers and look for their young stars to really emerge and become, I wouldn't say household names around the country, but you're going to hear Hunter Renfroe, you're going to hear Manuel Margot. They have a solid young outfield in San Diego. Now, if they only had a shortstop, if they only didn't trade Trey Turner, then the Padres would certainly be something. Now, in the American League, obviously we're only a month in, but damn do the Yankees look good. I believe I picked them to come in second in the East, and I'm sticking with that because I still have the Red Sox, who are 3 games over 500. I still have them winning not just the American League East, but the AL pennant and the World Series, I believe, as well. So the Red Sox, when David Price comes back, they will be solid and something to seriously mess with. The Blue Jays, on the other hand, now I picked them a lot lower than everybody else. A lot of people had the Blue Jays winning the East. I had them, I think, second to last. Right? I just don't like their team this year. They're not playing good ball. Obviously, I mean they're 9-18, so pretty bad. When you only win a third of your games, it's not a good thing. The American League Central is such a close race between the top 4 teams. The Royals there at the bottom are bringing down the whole division, but the White Sox, Indians, Twins, Tigers, they're all separated by 1 game. I picked the Tigers to win it. If Justin Verlander can stop the snide he's on and actually start pitching a lot better, then little doubt that they'll make a run at the Central title. In the AL West, the team I did pick to win it is sucking right now. The Rangers are 11-16. Meanwhile, the Angels are playing extremely well, much better than anybody thought they would be playing. And the Astros are winning the division, even though Carlos Correa is maybe not having his best season, which is surprising considering a lot of people compare him to Alex Rodriguez minus the steroids. But there's some definite surprises in baseball so far. But like I said, it's only been a month. I'm not too worried about my predictions. They were damn close to spot on last year and way ahead of everybody on ESPN.com, SportsIllustrated.com. Well ahead of all of their projections, so I'm not really too worried about that. We're going to move on to the NBA, where second round of the playoffs is going on right now. We're just going to touch on this shortly because I don't think there's too much to discuss. The Cavs versus the Raptors in the East, I think it goes 5 games, maybe. I mean, and that's if somebody from the Raptors front court can step up, right? That's where the Cavs are weak, right? If Serge Ibaka can start playing down low and dominating Tristan Thompson or dominating Kevin Love down low, then I think the Raptors can steal a game. Possibly, 1% chance they take it to 6 games on them. But the fact of the matter is that the Cavaliers are too good. LeBron James is not going to lose right now. Not a series, no way. All right, so that goes, 5 games maybe. a very slight chance that it goes 6 games if Toronto can really step it up down low. The Celtics and the Wizards, that's the Celtics. They're simply too good up front for that mediocre front court of Washington. I mean, the Wizards have nobody up front. Don't give me that Gortat stuff, okay? Just don't try to tell me that he's a good player, okay? The Celtics, Al Horford is 3 times the player, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a diehard Florida Gator fan. All right, the Celtics are going to take that in 5 games as well. Heading out west, damn, did the Rockets blow out the Spurs on Monday. I mean, they made San Antonio look bad, and to be real, it's a bad matchup for San Antonio when you think the point guard position alone. I mean, Houston's rocking arguably the best point guard in the league. I wouldn't say so. I'm not a huge James Harden fan, but there's no way that Tony Parker is going to be able to guard him. There's no way. That's a really bad matchup for San Antonio, and the Rockets are going to take advantage. But I see the Spurs taking it. It's going to be a tough-fought series because LaMarcus Aldridge hasn't played his best basketball this year. Pau Gasol isn't what he used to be, so it's really going to be Kawhi versus any team the Spurs play. All right, Greg Popovich really has to do his best coaching job with this group. All right, because defensively they're not good outside of Kawhi Leonard, and offensively they're slightly disappointing to me personally. I think so, and this is a terrible matchup for them when it comes to point guards. So I still think the Spurs will win this series, but I think it'll be a tough-fought, long series. As for the other one, the Warriors versus the Jazz, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Warriors had another big sweep of another playoff opponent. We saw what they did to Portland. And yes, the Jazz are better than Portland. And Gordon Hayward, I think, is one of the most underrated stars in the sport, in the sporting world. But the Warriors, I've been saying this all season because I predicted them to win the NBA championship this year, like just about everybody did. I wouldn't be surprised at all with this sweep. I mean, yeah, maybe the Jazz will steal a game, but I really don't see that happening. I would put my money down as the Warriors sweeping the Jazz. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is, we're just going to touch on this, is boxing. A lot of you may know I was a competitive boxer. Now I coach, so I look after the sport. Maybe not as much as hardcore boxing fans do, but I understand the sport real well. I understand what it takes to win. And last Saturday, I think we saw the passing of the torch in the heavyweight division, and it's been held by Vladimir Klitschko, minus the Tyson Fury fight last year. I mean, Klitschko's had the belt for 9.5 years, nearly a decade. And finally, Anthony Joshua, who I think is unrecognized name by most of the sport because we look at lower weight divisions as the heavyweight division's gotten worse. Anthony Joshua is an absolute stud and a great fighter to watch. He's 19-0 with 19 knockouts. He's the only champion in the sport where every single fight is a knockout. All right, so that shows just how dominant he's been. It was a great fight. If you didn't get to see it, I'm sure they'll replay it on HBO, on Showtime. Both fighters went down at one point, but what a great fight, and we're seeing the end of an era. I mean, if you're not a boxing fan, you've probably still heard the name Klitschko, and you have to understand that, I mean, for the past 10 years, Klitschko has dominated. Him and his brother before that, and at the same time for part of it, dominated the heavyweight division. So now we're finally seeing Anthony Joshua take over. Him and Deontay Wilder, I'm sure, are going to fight soon. The heavyweight division is finally coming around, and it's something to watch. So if you're not a fan of the sport, if you haven't seen a heavyweight fight in a while, maybe go check out the one from last week and really recognize the name Anthony Joshua, because he's an up-and-coming fighter. Like I said, 19-0 with 19 knockouts, so he's exciting to watch. Also, this weekend, usually the biggest weekend in boxing for the year, Cinco de Mayo weekend, huge Latin fight here, huge Mexican fight, Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Cesar Chavez Jr. This is going to be a good fight, but I think Canelo is going to overmatch him. I think Chavez Jr. is just simply overmatched. Canelo is too strong, too disciplined. He's too good. His only fight where he looked bad, the only fight he was against Floyd Mayweather Jr., who makes everybody look bad. He made Manny Pacquiao look bad. Right? Canelo Alvarez is one of the 10 best boxers in the sport, and he should win. I'm expecting a knockout because, I mean, that boy hits. That guy can really throw some weight, The only thing I wish I was seeing is I wish Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya, his management, would man up, would make the Canelo Triple G fight that all of the people around the sport really want to see. And I think it happens after this fight. After Canelo dominates, and like I said, a knockout is domination. After he dominates Cesar Chavez Jr. on Saturday night, I think that Golden Boy will make the Triple G fight, because Gennady Golovkin has looked rusty in his last two fights, and maybe Golden Boy finally sees the opportunity for Canelo to actually get a fight in with Triple G and win. There's actually a chance for that now. The other fights that are coming up, I mean, Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev, that's not for another month and a half. That's June 17th. So that's another 6 weeks out. So in the boxing world, we really have we have to look forward to this. This is the fight that we're going to watch, and it should be a good one. Canelo Chavez Jr., but I'm expecting Canelo to knock him out. It should not go the distance. If it does, then Chavez Jr. fought the fight of his life, and Canelo sank down to his opposition, because this one should be a Canelo knockout, but it also should be a very entertaining fight, because let's be real, that's what Mexican fighters do. They slug it out, and it's fun to watch. All right, and now time for our first ever question. Actually, it's the first podcast, so it's crazy. We actually got somebody who hit us up on Twitter at ttimmy15. Wow, how dope would that be if that was somehow Tim Tebow? I really don't think it is, but damn, that would be awesome. He wants to know who I think will be the Offensive Rookie of the Year in NFL. First off, solid question, possibly Tim Tebow. If that's you, Tim, I love you. Go Gators. But a lot of people are going with Leonard Fournette, running back out of LSU, because Doug Marrone likes to run the ball, the new head coach in Jacksonville. But I am actually going to go with Christian McCaffrey, the running back for the Panthers. I don't think, for me, it was between Fournette and McCaffrey, because I think it's going to go to a running back. I think Fournette's not going to get a lot of all the carries, because they have other backs in Jacksonville. And I absolutely love, and I mean, I love Dalvin Cook, the running back from Florida State, who dropped somehow into the second round, but he went to the Vikings. And they already have a running back there. Otherwise, I would pick him. But I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey, who I think is the third best back of those three. But he went to a team that needs running back help. And with Cam Newton, they're going to run a lot of plays where Christian McCaffrey will be in space, where he's allowed to stretch the defense. They will flex him out. They'll match him up on a linebacker. I'm expecting McCaffrey to do, I wouldn't say big things this year, but I am expecting him to win Rookie of the Year. So there's your answer. If I had to pick one for Defensive Rookie of the Year, it's hard to go against Myles Garrett. But then again, Jamal Adams and Solomon Thomas are crazy good. And I mean, those are some damn good players right there. So it could go one of three ways on defense. Luckily, you only asked me for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So I'm going Christian McCaffrey, Carolina Panthers. Thanks for your question. Remember, hit us up on Facebook, Game Day Sports Blog. You can hit us up on our website, or just check it out if you want some cool articles, GameDaySportsBlog.com. Hit us up on Twitter. Our handle is at GDSportsBlog, and we'll take your questions for the next podcast, which will come out next week. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. It was great doing this. Thanks for having me and hearing all my ramblings for the past, how long has it been? 40 friggin' minutes. So thank you for that. This is right around the time that we'll stay at, about 40 minutes, and hopefully it was better than most of the sports radio you get on your way to work or on your way back during your lunch break, whatever it is. Check us out every week, as we will be back with a new episode every week. I have plenty of people to interview. We have a former USC player coming on in the next month to talk some college football, another college football expert. Austin will be on next week, and don't forget, check us out on our website, GameDaySportsBlog.com. You'll get all of our articles. You'll get this podcast. We have the best sports articles on the web, so make sure to check that out. And thanks again. Hope you have the great rest of your week, and enjoy the sports, y'all.
He's a ninja.